Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. We're back. Today is Mealworm Monday, so we're going to do a little bit of a combo here because there's not much to show for mealworms. However, I have a magnificent, huge accomplishment with the mealworms. So the first batch that I did turned black because supposedly we have to blanch them. And that way, when you get them, so they got frozen. That's how we dispatched. And then we blanched this time. Last time we did not blanch. They turned black. Then somebody said put them in the microwave. I did that. Then they explode. They pop. And the smell from inside, sorry, I'm dirty. I've been cleaning the quail room. Because this is also the quail room. It's the worm room and the quail room. Guinea pig room too, while we're experimenting with the guinea pigs and how well they would work as a soil regenerative partner with the other animals that I have. So we're working on them. And these mealworms turned out, they got a little bit of a brownish tint, which means maybe I didn't dry them fast enough. I didn't check the temperature. They were by my wood burner. So I want to use as many layers as possible to decrease the amount of energy that I use. So I did not use a dehydrator or a freeze dryer. The one thing I'm going to try and do next time is, this is the craft. It's a plastic. It's used for baking certain crafts. So I think I'm going to get some of these, and then I will thinking about different racks. I thought about a window screen, but there's like a plastic window screen and I'm not sure. I might try that since it's plastic. I'm thinking about ways of washing things and what's easiest. Now this is what I've used. That's for above the lights for the ceilings in the basement. And then I thought, well, I could either use a big piece of this and get some really big racks. But I don't know that my drying is going to be in the wood room. I guess if I'm going to do that next to the wood burner, I'm going to do it on a day when I'm really going to heat the wood burner up so that it really heats them fast. Now, I don't want to have to use the oven, but I may advance to that. And then lay either the plastic window screen, I think that's going to work best, on these. I think these were 20 bucks a piece at Menards, and then I cut them to fit in my worm, these black tubs from Menards. Okay, so I cut them to fit in that, and then that was what I was laying over top of my mealworms just to keep them covered. I feel like if my numbers are high enough, boy, do they really create some heat. So if they had a cover on them, I wouldn't probably need to heat them here in this, which I don't anyway, but I'm not working on huge numbers. I may try that in the future, but what I did was I cut those to fit in the pan, and then I laid a piece of it was washable wallpaper, cut them the right size and laid that over the top there. So when they do generate their heat, if you get your numbers really high, it'll help hold that in if you're in a room that's fairly cold. Also tried that for moisture, little iffy on that. Probably good if you watch that you don't get too much moisture in there. So last year I tried what was I using? Sponges and cardboard that I would get wet and then set on it and then cover it with that wallpaper just to hold that. But then you get into issues with those mites, and I don't like them at all. So I found if you just don't water them at all and you just let the moisture soak through their skin, you're better off. But that, I can do that in the summer when there's plenty of moisture in the air, but in the wintertime it gets really dry due to the wood burner drying things down. So still struggling. I have been using those for plants, the water crystals. I gotta find the big water crystals. I like those round ones, but they're very expensive. But they're fun to throw on top of the mealworms. So here you go. They're real crispy. So what I'm going to do is just try grinding them up and see that? Feeding the quail. So I want to just be able to just sprinkle it over the quail food, because what those quails want to do with mine, because my quails are in cages where they have a floor. Here he is. Let's see. We'll crush them up. But they want to pick the whole thing up, and then when they let it down to like bite it, it falls through the floor. You want to try a worm? Here. He doesn't act like he knows even what I'm doing, which he doesn't because I've never fed him any before, but so I'm wanting to just crack some. So next time, here's what I'm going to try. Even though I like this very well, I'm very happy with it. I think when I blanch, this is a puppy pad, right? This soaks up the moisture. That helped a lot. But like I said, I'm going to go with maybe like a cookie sheet where I can have a fan on in the wood room. And then we can really blow that moisture off quick. And then I can shut the fan off and just let the wood room continue to dry down. I put them in the 2 of the hottest, driest places near the wood stove that I had. And I felt like we did pretty good. I would be happy with it. So next time I'm going to blanch these in like some salt water. Like you do spaghetti, you know, because I think they're just fantastic. I'm not afraid to eat bugs. In fact, I think we would have had a lot more chitin in our intestines than what they're probably teaching. I should have brought you my book, Fiber Menace. If you read the Fiber Menace, it makes you question all these intestinal issues, what's going on. Now, did I just eat that because I had to? No. In fact, I can pretty quick become addicted. I think they're fantastic. And if I blanch those in some salt water and then dry them down, I think you'd have that hint of salt on there. Not that you need that much salt. I probably don't need the salt. It would probably make me eat just as many more. I'm very happy with the flavor. I did not put them in a pan for them to clean first. Feeling like I need that bacteria too. I don't know, guys. If I die, you'll maybe know. Maybe not. Haven't died yet. In fact, every time I try, I just keep getting better. And more healthy. So, just fantastic. I'm so game on now. I'm going to start bumping up my numbers because now I have to share these with my quail and my chickens. And I don't know, it's a great source of protein. I'm going to do a lot more of that research. I don't care for eating them raw. It's just, I've always had a problem with the chitin. It never, I was chewing and chewing and chewing. When I cook them in the pan, you know, and then put the cheese on them, they were still pretty chewy. But this way, it breaks up really good in your mouth, and you're not going to have any problem taking these along as a snack. So that's my Mealworm Monday video. And then I will say a bit about what I'm doing here now. Because we made this worm casting sifter. And there's an earlier video. I didn't do a full video on it. But also, I like using the castings for the quail. I have pans below their cages. And in the pans, I have the worm castings dried down, dehydrated really good. And then, it just cuts the smell down real well because it's biologically active. So when the quail goes to the bathroom right away, I do try to mix it in regularly. You don't want that poop to pile up. You don't want the anaerobic conditions because then you start smelling that off-gassing. Nitrous oxide is not good. But, so in the summer, it didn't work as well because I'll tell you what happened. Moisture. There was moisture, and so these worm castings they wanted that moisture. They soaked it right up. So what I'm trying now this year is the, so these have been in the, this was from summer. Well, it wasn't from summer, but I haven't switched back over to the worm castings yet because I didn't have enough castings to start using. And I'll start using again when we start hatching the baby quail because it's super, super healthy for the baby quail to get right into that bedding, eating those microbes, inoculating their digestive tract right on day one. And I've had a wonderful success raising them in that bedding. And what I do is I put the plant heaters, for seed starting mats under there. If you have those on, that also helps heat the baby quails, and it will help to remove the moisture if you have a moisture, spill with your water or something. You just mix those in. It's feeding the microbes. it is like a win-win situation. What you don't want to start with is sterile conditions, because at that point, you don't know whether it's going to be a good microbe takeover or a bad one. So let's get them started with good microbes, which is what we're building here, is the bedding that's going to be biocomplete to put in the quails. So, boy, quails hatch fast, 14 days. So I don't want to start them too early, because I don't want these quails. Oh, if I had an outdoor heated building, that'd be a different story, but I don't, and that's a lot of work for one person. So until I find groups of people wanting to raise food, healthy food, then. And so now we just, okay, so what that's doing now, taking away the sawdust mainly, and I can reuse that sawdust too. And then, oh, the only thing I don't like about, so I'm trying to get some really good methods here, is the feathers. The feathers do come out, and then they get in here. We can use these now that they're dehydrated pretty well. We might want to dehydrate them a little bit more, but we can use these, one as an inoculant for the bioreactor, because this is this ultra high nitrogen quail litter, but also I'm finding that we get huge mealworms when we feed them chicken or quail litter. So the I gotta investigate that more. They will survive completely on this, because I've tried that. There's enough leftover nutrients from the chicken feed that we're feeding the chickens. It's coming through in this, and then when you just put those in there, they get huge. I mean, huge. I don't know, like, what went on there. So I don't know what they need, but they're doing great on that. Solely that. But, you know, I'm not trying to push numbers, so I don't know if they would do great on just that or not, if you're trying to push huge numbers. Maybe they will. Okay, now this is going to be probably the greatest. However, this is what I'm finding on the mealworm end of it, because so there's a lot of chicken feed still left in this. So I'm trying to determine, I could put this in a separate container where maybe we use this as a quail bedding, and then the little quail can feed on that, because they'll scratch around, they'll find that, and they'll still eat it. That's what I'm trying to decide. It's probably the best thing to do. We'll give it a go. And then when you're sifting your frass, that's what I'm running into, is the feathers. They don't eat the feathers, and so it doesn't go into the frass, but it does. I mean, you know how you always want those nice, clean mealworms. So I'm going to try what I'm going to try now, because I can't just scoop mealworms out and, you know, dispatch. What I'm going to do is go back to the egg carton method, where usually the ones that crawl up on the egg carton are like mature. So I'll just put those in there and then just tap off the mature ones to dispatch. Got a lot of research to do yet, folks, but come on, if everybody wants to help, go ahead and give it a shot. This is what I'm working on. Still, we went through Soil Food Web training, and it was magnificent. Magnificent. No, you won't always see perfect results, but guess what? You can see where, if you did manage to capture. So this is my sawdust. So I've used this quite a bit. It's dried down a lot of quail castings. And it still looks good. It still looks like it needs to maybe dehydrate a little bit more. And I may, you know, come up with a plan where I can take some sort of a wheel wagon, put this on tubs in the wheel wagon, and continue to dry them down. Dry it down, and then reuse it in the adult quail cages during summer, because it seemed that the worm castings absorbed way more moisture than the sawdust did, and I'm not sure It's got to be the fact that the microbes were there and working. And here they aren't. So this bedding may be better for your older quail, where you're not necessarily allowing them to get into the bedding, and then save your worm castings for your nurseries where you're raising your baby quail who are going to be in that casting and eating the microbes and whatever. You know, you got those, well, they call them the macro part of the soil food web, which that's going to be your pill bugs and any types of little mites that are going to be going on. So, all right, that's it for the video here. Now, these are what I'm doing. You know, I'm choking on chitin. I needed a drink, but it's okay. Made it through that, didn't I? Protein. You just Google how much protein is in that, and holy moly, wait till you see my hair grow. Yeah, ladies, if you want hair, better get some high doses of protein in, and you be beautiful. All right, we hope to see you in the future, everyone. I'm sorry I'm slacking on my videos, keeping y'all posted, but it is amazing. Everything's coming together, working great. It's too much for 2 people, but hey, someday the kingdom will come. Stay safe, and I hope to see you in the future.